Hi to everybody, this is Stefano Maslen Geopolitics from Italy. Today I'm honored to have one of my favorite YouTube blogger on like the Russian side. It is like Konstantin. His channel is Inside Russia. You will find the link in the description. So go to his channel if you don't know him yet. Subscribe. A super fast description that you can find also in his channel. His name is Kostantin, and he is telling a little bit of, let's say, a different point of view from Russia, but inside Russia. He's born and raised in Russia, but he spent his half of adult life living in foreign lands and been residing in Russia for the past 14 years. And I like a lot his point of view because is very clear and very deep from a Russian that is actually inside Russia. At the moment, is outside, but he will tell to you his personal experience, what is happening actually for a Russian person. And if you have any type of question, I will collect in the chat, or if you will see the video after, just put it in the comment. Konstantin, I give you immediately the stand, and the stream is yours.
Stefano, thank you so very much. I would like to just a couple words about myself so you understand where I'm coming from and about my channel. And then I'll be glad to answer the questions. My name is Konstantin. I was born and raised in Russia, first the USSR, then Russia. I went to school in Russia, got education. So when I turned 20, I went to the United States, spent 9 years there, went to school, worked, lived there, then returned to Russia, traveled around the world, spent a year in Ukraine, a couple years in Uzbekistan. And basically, I've been working for a large energy facility construction company. I'm an executive, was an executive until recently because our company's basically, dying. I was just started this channel Inside Russia some time ago, a few years ago, to give my point of view on how it is to be living in Russia in general, because I figured foreigners didn't know much about what inside Russia is really like. And I was inside Russia, and then I was thinking as a foreigner, and I was thinking as a Russian, half and half, So I figured, hey, the best way is to start a YouTube channel. And then last year, February 24 came, and Russia started doing this atrocity in Ukraine, and I completely changed the channel, purpose of my channel, and anyway, I've been telling how I see the situation in Russia. I do daily streams ever since February 24th, and I'm trying to tell the truth to the entire world on what's going on inside Russia these days. Stefano, if you have any questions.
I'm here. No, but just like to listen what happened, maybe your experience about, maybe you can share with the public also your story that you're originally from Rostov, that like the part that is next to Ukraine,
Okay.
what is happening inside Russia from your sources after and actually now after merely 1 year after the start of the invasion.
Got you. Well, in general, nothing good is happening in Russia these days. I was born in the city of Rostov-on-Don, which is about 60 kilometers to the border of Ukraine. I grew up there. Ukraine and Russia, so close together in the place where I live. If I pick a little rock and throw it, it would land in Ukraine. So we had lots of Ukrainians. We had lots of people coming from Ukraine for business, culturally. And then later I moved to Ukraine for about a year. We did lots of business in Ukraine, so I know the country quite well. I have friends there and having international experience, the background, I was absolutely appalled to learn that Russia attacked Ukraine in February of last year. I had not ever thought it would happen. Okay, I was convinced Russia would never do that. But then everything was shot on the 24th of February, and ever since, every single day, I get horrible news from the country. Russia is therefore, in my opinion, no good reason. At least the Russian government has not given us a good reason, good explanation what Russia is doing in Ukraine and why it started attacking, invading Ukraine. They keep on changing agenda. That's pretty low. At first, they told us that they were Nazis and there's too much of military equipment in Ukraine, so they were to denazify, to demilitarize Ukraine. Well, I lived in Ukraine. I worked in Ukraine. I didn't see any Nazis there. Okay, I saw nice, wonderful people who I made friends with. And I also understand that Russia has no right to demilitarize any other countries. Otherwise, someone will come to Russia one day and would demilitarize Russia, if you know what I mean. So basically, the entire year, 11 months, I have been following the news, what is happening there in Ukraine. And I, because I'm Russian, I'm a taxpayer, and I am the voter. And I lived in Russia for so long, after I came back from the USA, I feel that I am partially responsible for all this mess that is going on. And I feel that I need to stand up and do something. And my channel is one way of doing things. I want to bring truth of what is happening and my opinions about that. My voice is probably not that loud, but if there are many voices like that, then I hope we will be heard finally. Situation inside Russia. Well, I think that you are well informed of what's happening inside Ukraine, okay? But what about inside Russia? Not too many people know. Russia has become an island culturally, economically, sports, scientifically, and basically it's been isolated from the rest of the world. Unfortunately, Russian economy is not doing well at all. Russian government is trying to grab power, keep on holding power for as much as it can, because people are getting upset of these events that have been happening inside Russia. They start influencing regular lives of Russian people. Then the mobilization was announced. Then there's everyone expecting another phase of the mobilization. And basically, if I was to summarize the situation that's been going on, is there's chaos and it's increasing, okay? Economic future for countries such as incredibly rich countries, Russia, is unclear right now. Economy is not doing well. Russia has lost lots of customers for oil and gas, its main sources of revenue. People start feeling the pinches, economic pinch in everyday life. And nothing good's going on. That's my summary, and the situation is worsening.
Okay, I have just the first question for you from the public. So it's what price, in your opinion, Russia would have to pay on February 24 for the sake of peace at all cost in the immediate aftermath in the years to come? What would have happened if there was no war?
There are two questions. As far as I understand, the first question is what price Russia needs to pay now to rectify things, right?
No, I
Well,
think that the question is that what was the price that Russia had to pay in their point of view if they didn't start the war?
okay.
Probably.
Russia wouldn't have to pay any price. I mean, we lived in peace with Ukraine for 30 years, and the price is both countries benefited because we had a great deal of economic trade, cultural exchange. Lots of Ukrainians came to Russia as migrants and worked. A Russian business expanded into Ukraine. So I don't really understand the question. What price would Russia pay? Russia would
No,
benefit having peace with Ukraine.
probably the mean that like actually is saying that Russia was in war with Ukraine from 2014. Is from Russia the question, but the main thing is that from the Russian point of view, let's say propaganda, they say that if they don't start the war, there will be a lot of consequences, blah blah blah.
I
So
see.
probably this is the question. That
They
was
keep on changing. They keep on changing their agenda. That's the thing. It's really hard to understand them. At first, they told us, well, if we didn't start this war, then Ukraine probably would attack us within days, like military, okay? Which I find is absolute nonsense. Thing is, they did not give us any facts. They just basically said, and it's the same thing as saying, oh, let's attack Italy. Otherwise, Italy would attack us in like 18 hours, okay? Same thing. So they gave this explanation. Then they gave they changed their agenda. They changed the explanation. They said, well, you know what? It's not about Ukraine. First, it was about Ukraine, and then it became not about Ukraine, but about the collective West. It's the Western countries, NATO, they sent their troops. Troops are on the ground in Ukraine. Again, no proof, okay? I haven't seen one proof that NATO troops are in Ukraine. I don't believe it's true. That they keep on saying that. And we are fighting the West. It's the war, a proxy war in Ukraine with the West, okay? And the West has always been wanting to destroy Russia. So now the price is the sovereignty. If we didn't start this war, we would have lost our sovereignty.
Okay, if we can ask you, Konstantin, if I can ask you, because militarily, for people who understand militarily, this, let's say, argument from Russian propaganda, it's nonsense because technically now it's impossible to attack Russia if you don't want to be destroyed by the nuclear deterrent. Exactly. And for sure, not from one country that is without a nuclear deterrent. So technically, Ukraine cannot attack Russia because it will be destroyed in 1 second. Totally. Exactly. Because they cannot answer after the Budapest memorandum when they give back the Soviet nuclear weapons to the Russian Federation. It was impossible to answer to a nuclear attack from Russia directly from Ukraine. I'm not talking about the West. And this is another thing that I wanted to ask to you when I move to other questions. For me, it's very difficult. I'm trying to, let's say, understand the Russian propaganda like Solovyov or similar talk show, because I never listened any Western talk show, also the most extremist, talking about we need to attack with a missile Moscow, for example. And I listen a lot, for example, we can destroy United Kingdom in 1 day with this new missile, or we have to attack France now because they will give tanks. It's like a form of speaking that it's, for me, very difficult to understand because it's very aggressive. I don't know if it's made... what is your opinion about this type of... because what I know, it's that now not a lot of people is watching this type of talk show, Solovyov or whatever. Maybe the old people, but...
that propaganda, that really amazes me every time I watch. I don't watch TV at all, but for the sake of knowing what's going on, I watch sometimes the shows of Solovyov and so forth. And what every time I hear these atrocities, they really amaze me. What I think is that anyone who has common sense, who has a little bit of knowledge of what's going on around Russia or in general about life, wouldn't fall for this propaganda, because it falls apart when you start asking very simple questions. What if? Why do you say that? Give us the facts about what you said. You see, they cannot answer any questions. They're just making statements. That's it. And they're very emotional statements, and they are aimed at people in Russia who are uneducated, okay, who live in the rural areas, who have never been outside of Russia, who don't really know what's going on anywhere, and they believe the official propaganda because that's the only source of receiving some information about the world and about life that they have. Okay, they've been receiving it all their lives, and then they have nothing to compare with. I guarantee you, if every single person in Russia would get out of Russia and just would go to Europe or the United States and look around for a couple of weeks, how people in Italy live, how people in France, the UK, Hungary, doesn't matter, the United States, and would actually meet people and talk to them, and they would immediately understand that their people are awesome. They're not warmongers. They don't want to destroy Russia. Actually, they can care less about Russia, all of them, okay? All they want to do is just Russia to be peaceful and not to be a threat to other countries, and that's it, okay? And if they understood that, I guarantee you, Russian propaganda was just fall apart. But the thing is, they don't know better. And Russian propaganda people, they know that. And they are aiming specifically at that, to people who don't know better.
Another example about this, I saw this commercial from Arte. In Italy now, you cannot watch it Arte because it's banned, but you can do it by Telegram or whatever. There was this commercial, I don't know if you saw it, during the Christmas, explaining what will happen in Europe in 2023, 2024, that we will froze and we will eat finally a mouse that was in their house. For the people that will see this video, I have to tell you that this year, for example, in Italy, there was before the war big public subsidies to make, let's say, your building with better, let's say, heating system. There was a lot of public subsidies that was before the war, and during 2022 there was a lot of let's say building revamping, and this year I switched off on the heating system 4 or 5 times, 4 or 5 days, and my city is very cold because it's in the north. So it's very interesting that also this weapon that was made to treat Europe, that we will not give you gas, if you support Ukraine, was, I don't know, I was impressed how many things was so miscalculated. I don't know, now, also the public maybe don't know, in the last month, Italy is not importing Russian gas from Russia anymore, from Tarvisio. And Italy and Germany was the 2 best friends of Russia in the trade as trade partner. And now we are not importing gas anymore from Russia. And we have our storage full, not from Russia anymore, from Algeria, from GNL or whatever. Plus the gas prices are decreasing under 60 euro for cubic meters, and it was 300. So I don't know. In long term, also short term, I think that the Russian economy will completely not benefit about this situation. And that probably, I don't know, the miscalculation of the war was, I don't know, big. What is your point of view about this economical miscalculation?
Stefano, there are 2 questions here. First is the commercial. I saw the commercial, but not on RT. And the second is economy. I'm an expert on Russian economy. I've been following very closely. I take all the facts and I do economic live streams on my channel. Okay, so I'll tell you, but first, let me answer about
the commercial.
When I saw commercial, it was made actually way before New Year. It was made in September and October, when Russia, you see, Russia started using leverage, natural gas supplies as a way to, push Europe. In Europe, I mean major importers. You are right, Italy, France, Germany. Okay, these three countries, they make the policy, European policy, like in general about gas and relationship with Russia and stuff like that. And then the Russians started, well, I shouldn't say Russians, it's just few people in Russia, they figured, hey, we can use gas as weapon, a political weapon. Let's scare them. Because they started coming up with these commercials. Oh, this is going to be a long winter. Did you see that commercial?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. And then they're showing how Europe freezes over in the winter because it doesn't have Russian gas. And then Russia is like all nice and warm.
You freezed. Let's see. Konstantin. Konstantin.
Can you hear me
okay.
now?
You freeze. Now you return back. Okay.
Okay.
So you were telling that it
yeah, this commercial, like
you were freezing. Okay.
Europe is gonna freeze because it's gonna be a long winter, cold winter, and they showing these pictures of frosty villages and stuff like that. And I immediately started laughing because almost 40% of Russia's households, 40% have never seen supply of natural gas. They still use coal and wood, and then Russians making the Russian propaganda, making this commercial. So I'm thinking, if people who have never seen natural gas inside Russia in their lives, when they see this commercial, what will they think? Okay, well, I still don't know, but the thing is, after they started threatening Europe that they're gonna use gas supplies as a weapon, they're gonna cut it short. Basically, what happened? Russian pipelines were blown up, and as a fact, Russia is not supplying as much gas to Europe as it was before for two reasons. Basically, it cannot physically, because the two pipelines are out of water, and Europeans, they have voted, they have said, they've decided to give up on Russian gas. And let me tell you, this Russian, whoever was making a decision must have been the dumbest person in the world, because they certainly did not expect that. They thought that Russian gas is the only gas in the entire world. Okay, that clearly they need to think better. Okay, so what has happened now? Russia is not selling oil or gas. Okay, and to Europe, and Europe used to be the best customer. Rich, very well paying, very reliable, right next door. So Russia had pipelines right into Europe, so they wouldn't have to liquefy gas and ship it by sail and so forth. So European countries were the perfect customers. Okay, and basically Russia lost this buyer of gas and oil. And let me remind you, 46% of Russian budget, the revenue to the Russian budget, comes from the sales of oil and gas. And there's no more. And the tragedy for Russian economy is that Europe will not ever buy gas or oil again from Russia. Okay, it's not like a 1 year type of a deal. It's forever. It's for like generations, and then probably in very short period of time, entire Europe will turn to the green energy, to the renewables. Okay, and then Russia is helping that by promoting the scientific research in Europe, a big deal right now. Because Europeans, I know for the fact that European companies have started researching like crazy right now, because they understand that they have a huge market. Okay, and Russian gas has been replaced by, like you said, the gas from Norway, from Algeria, from other countries, and just this is insane. What basically Russian government did by making this decision, they shot itself in both legs, in both feet, in both hands, in the stomach, and they're lying on the ground and bleeding to death. Okay, and they did it just no one forced Russia to do that. Russia did it itself, and now they start blaming, oh, there are enemies all around, they don't want Russia to succeed, they want Russian economy destroyed. My God, you destroyed your own economy. Okay.
No, I was Konstantin talking like this by many months. This is a presentation that I prepared in July, so it's old, just to show to the people that let's say 80% of the Russian oil and gas was sold in Europe, and it was very fast. We are very next. The pipelines was, let's say, heritage from Soviet Union, so it was everything, and all the people that were like in a conspiracy about these conspiracy theories, Russia can sell easily to China and India, and I explained to them like to China and India, and they have like for example the pipelines like it's this one, and it's like, I don't know, the capacity, it's nothing compared to Europe. It's far through India, it's impossible actually, so it will take years. And if you cut the budget, as you say, the 40% of your budget for 2-3 years, how can the economy survive? You can survive, but you will decrease, I don't know, 40% of the GDP. It's insane. But what I wanted to show you, it's interesting because before the war, I think that the central platform of, let's say, European energy import was Germany with Nord Stream 1 and 2. But actually, all the paradigm is reversing to the south, because it's going to Italy. Now, the last 2 days, there was like the government in Algeria, and we are reattaching a lot and pressing a lot Libya to make a final peace between the two parts to guarantee, like, for example, the export of oil and gas. And there is a huge field in the south of Cyprus, huge, discovered. And there is a lot of agreements between Italy, Egypt, and Israel to completely, let's say, take our import that we need, but also for exporting, not only for Italy, from the southern market, not from the eastern market. So this is why I'm still not realizing how the Kremlin, let's say, strategist made this super miscalculation about the European imports. I'm still, shocked what happened, because it was not 5% of the economy, it was 40%, 45%. So let me put other questions to you, just to stay other 15
Stefano,
minutes.
When you're putting the questions up, let me tell you that you're absolutely right when you're wondering about what kind of strategists are there in Kremlin, but it doesn't make any sense what they do when you apply real logic, okay? When you start asking questions. I think that you and me, we both, and everyone else, we think too much of the Kremlin. I think that there are like strategists there and so forth. There aren't any. I think it's one or two or few people making decisions spontaneously. They are not qualified. They're not very intellectual. They only ability is they know how to grab power and hold it. Okay. There's no strategy there, because what clearly, if we're talking from the strategical point of view, Russian economy is destroyed forever, not just for a year, for 2, for 5 years, forever. It's lost, its main product, basically. That's it. So, sorry, I just wanted to add that.
No, I agree with you because also how the Russian economy is working inside and a lot it's imported. Let's say that the West import will cede their market to Chinese. Let's say an example. But for example, Chinese exporter have to take a lot of care because Russia it's not even in the first 10 trading partners for them. Like Europe and US, it's I don't know 40% of the export of China. Russia, I don't know, it's 3% or 2, nothing. And this was for me because I have a lot of friends, also in Russia. I was a little bit worried because trading with European Union states is one thing. Trading with China, it's another thing. Because I have friends working in big Russian companies that are starting to trading with Chinese. It's not the same. It's different approach. So questions. Okay. How do you know that our point of view isn't influenced by propaganda? Everybody, let's say.
How do we know that our point of view isn't influenced by propaganda? Well, I can speak of myself. um, you see, when I started learning at my university, when I started going to university in Russia back in early 90s, and both in the United States at American University, first thing they teach you is critical thinking. And I am in love with the concept of critical thinking. I think it's the right thing to do to apply critical thinking to all areas of life. Um, I've studied. I was a good scholar of critical thinking, and I use critical thinking, logic, and common sense to everything that I see, and I receive from TV, from media, and so forth. Um, I try to, when I get the information, just apply my way of thinking. I try to get the facts. I fact check. I use my opinions. I project my opinions on things, and this is the best I can do. That's the answer to the question.
Konstantin, I do the same of you. Like I try to make a selection from any type of sources. Also, Russian official, Russian not official. I don't know, Navalny team or Solovyov. I don't care. Telegram channel. I usually at the beginning translate 1 hour or 2 every day to listen what was happening, blah blah blah, and then I select and I make my mind. I don't take and digest directly the news. So I agree with you. One of it is mine, and the last two questions from the public, just to stay in the 45 minutes. Okay, one is what is the influence actually of Russia on the community of independent states after the war? Why I make you these questions? Because I was impressed a little bit from the reaction of the former Soviet Union states, the approach to the Kremlin. Like before, probably was more, let's say, afraid the position of the former Soviet Union states. For example, Kazakhstan, I saw that now the position is more a little bit not completely aligned to Russia. And also, for example, for sure Azerbaijan, because now it's completely not aligned to Russia and more to Turkey. For Nagorno-Karabakh war, Armenia, blah, blah, blah. And also where you are now, like in that part of let's say Uzbekistan, Kyrgyzstan, whatever, I don't see that like the Russian influence, it's powerful like before. What is like your point of view?
You're absolutely right. Russia has lost its influence over the CIS countries. Right now, I do not know one country that has the same attitude towards Russia, the same respect, than before. I mean, I can count all the countries. Kazakhstan is opposing what Russia is doing to Ukraine. Not only opposing, Kazakh president Tokayev, he publicly insulted Putin publicly when they were head to head with one another in St. Petersburg in May, I believe. He said, you know what? We will never accept the independence of these new states. They're part of Ukraine and we respect international law. And he did it into the face of Putin, and that's a public insult. That is a signal to all the countries, hey, this is our position, this is where we stand. And other countries have been doing pretty much the same. Armenian president has publicly insulted Russian leadership just a couple of weeks ago. He publicly stated that Russian troops that stationed in Armenia not only helping to promote peace, but they are a threat to Armenia. That's a public insult of the country and its policy, right? Then there was a meeting in Samarkand in Uzbekistan in September, I believe, in early October, when one of the presidents in Tajikistan, he started, again, there was a round table, and he started telling into the face of Putin all these things he didn't like about Russia. That's a public insult. And in Uzbekistan, that's where I've been residing for the past months. I'm telling you, people, first of all, they do not approve what Russia is doing in Ukraine. And second, they start getting afraid. They start saying, hey, you know what? Russia might do the same to us. If they did it to Ukraine, they might come to Uzbekistan with tanks and planes and start killing Uzbeks. And then they will make, hey, this is our land, basically. And then join. I've talked to people who are really afraid of that. And I think regular people in the CIS countries, they are also not feeling easy about that, So answering the short question is Russia has lost influence everywhere.
Okay, last two questions. One is fast and one is economic. What was the purpose of NATO training and supplying Ukrainian military since 2014? And what was the purpose of inviting Ukraine and Georgia into NATO in 2008?
What was the purpose? It's kind of a little strange question. You see, I think that both Ukraine and Georgia are independent sovereign nations. They can do whatever they want. If they want to join NATO, they can join NATO. If they don't want to join NATO, they don't have to do that. If they want to, join an alliance with Russia, be my guest, But it's up to the countries to decide who to align with who to align and what to join. You see, no one is asking or questioning Russia. It's like, why are you supplying, why are you providing help, aid to Venezuela? Venezuela is not the freest country in the world, and there are questions about that. But no one is asking Russia. No one is asking Venezuela, oh, why are you getting all the supplies from Russia? Wait a second. It's none of your business. Okay? I do what I want to do. Okay? And then...
Konstantin, if I can ask to you about this, do you think that this is the main problem, that, let's say the Russian, intelligence, government, whatever, is still, let's say, an heritage of SSSR, of Soviet Union, that want to maintain the sphere of interest on the former Soviet Union countries?
Say it again, the fear or
no,
interest?
No. I mean, the sphere of interest, that in Ukraine, the government must be pro-Russia. If it's not, it's a problem for Russia.
Yeah, I understand. There is such phenomena in Russia, and but for most part, it's been fueled by the government in recent years. Before, in the 90s, honestly, people didn't care, because when you mind your own business, when you try to provide for you, it's like a country is a family. Okay, so let's simplify this. I have a family. I want to provide for my family. Then I get a job. I go and I work. I abide law. I don't break any law. I care for my wife. But I am concentrated on my family. Instead, I could be just not homeless, jobless. I could be without job, and I could be looking at my neighbors and bad mouthing them. Okay, hey, what are you doing? What's wrong with you? And stuff like that. But then the thing is, you concentrate on your family. You do what's good for you and what's right to you. Why do you care about the others who are around you? It's their business. It's none of your business. But the Russians. In the 90s, they were indifferent, okay? And everyone hated the USSR because the fresh memories of how bad things were. But then Russia went through a cycle of prosperity. For about 15 years, we had a very, very good in Russia. Those, again, money coming from oil and gas sales were like spreading in the society, and Russians were rich. Well-to-do, should I say? Lots of Russians were well-to-do. But after 2014, the government started fueling this, doing propaganda tactics on people, saying, "Oh, look back into the USSR, how wonderful everything was. Oh, let's go back. Remember how nice the life was. Life wasn't great. Life stunk there." But the thing is, there were good parts about the USSR connected to our families, how we're growing up and stuff like that. So they isolating those good things and then making it sound like the government provided them. It was connected with the government, you see. And people started falling for that. They really falling for propaganda, more and more people. Then they started mixing up the enemy into the thing. Oh, look, Russia is surrounded by the enemies, okay? And then people started following for that. And then it turned out that right now, lots of people in Russia think that the USSR was good, that Russia needs to be the empire again, to bring all, like many countries like Ukraine, Belarus, and make it one country. And Russia needs to be strong to withstand the West. And this is what the current mood in Russia is. So it came from 0 to 100%, so to speak, because in the 90s, no one cared. And now everyone cares about the USSR. Well, a lot of people, at least majority do.
Let me give you the last question, because it's a question that I made to any speech. It's like, in your point of view, it's only like a fast question and answer just to close. What could be our next strategy for this situation by the Russian point of view? Why I'm asking you this? Because I asked to all my Ukrainian friends, and the problem, in my opinion, is that for sure they are defending themselves and they are not ready to any compromise. Like if you ask to one Ukrainian, he will say the war will be ended when all the Russian will be out of Ukraine. This is the common answer. But in any war, it's not so easy like this. You need to find a breaking point with a compromise between the two parts. My point of view, and when I'm asking yours, it's that there is one interesting case that I'm proposing to every speaker, that it's two provinces in Italy, that it's Trentino Alto Adige, that was formerly part of Austrian-Hungarian Empire till the First World War, and they're German speaking. And there was a lot of terrorism, low-level terrorism during the 70s. And at the end of this phase, these two provinces were declared under Italy, still under Italy, but completely autonomous. Like they take care about taxes, blah, blah, blah. If you check they are very small in population, but they are the two most richest in quality of life, blah, blah, blah. They have free lingual school. You can choose German, Latin, Italian, English, whatever you want. And it could be, for example, an interesting thing for Donbass, because these provinces are observed by Austria. Like they're in Italy, but this UN agreement, it's under the Austria highs, let's say. And the second thing that is interesting for me is Crimea, because I think that it will be the most problematic part, not Donbass, because for Ukrainian it's impossible to think that it could be ceded in some part to the Russian Federation. But probably the compromise it's between these two things. Without a compromise, also the US military is saying it's impossible to force the Russian to go out if the Russian economy will be converted to a war economy. So what is your point to close the stream?
I'll give you a couple points, different angles. First of all is my angle. Then there's the angle of the Russian government. And then there's most likely the right angle, for the Ukrainians or for everyone. So there are three angles. First, I personally think that the right end of the conflict, from the point of view of humanity and, from the Christian point of view, would be right now to give an order to stop the bloodshed, to stop all the shooting and military actions for the Russian army and withdraw it to where it came from, to Russia. Then Donbass and Luhansk are parts of Ukraine, so they would need to let people who live there decide their fate themselves, what they do, okay? But Russian troops should withdraw from Donbass and Lugansk, okay? And Crimea is a big question because, like you said, it's the most painful topic. They would start, they would have to come onto a huge table and would start discussing what to do about that. That's what I think should be done from my point of view. Now, the Russian government point of view, they cannot stop the bloodshed, because if they stop and withdraw troops into Russia, which is the right way to do, but the Russian people will ask, hey, wait a second, you have been doing this for 1 year, and for what? Just to leave and go back where you started from? What about those Russian soldiers that were killed? That's our boys, What about the Ukrainians have been killed? What about Mariupol that doesn't exist anymore? What about hundreds of thousands of people? For what? What did you do that for? Okay. And that would be the second, when Putin's would end his power and everything else, and then all these people in the government who has power, they would be crucified, okay? So they would never do that. And they drastically right now, they're really looking for the answer. They're in Sun Tzu. In chess, it's a situation when you move, when you make a move, it doesn't matter where you go, you'll get yourself into a worse position. They got themselves into this position, and they're trying to find a way how to get out. They're looking for an exit. It's all they care about, I guarantee you, okay? Nothing else. They just say, hey, let's end this the way that we stay in power. The minute they will come up with the solution, they will end this thing, okay? But the thing is, they can't. I don't really see a way. So that is the right way for me at first. Then second, what's going on with the government, their point of view. And the third is, you just gave a very good example about Italy, about those provinces. And I think it would be a very right way for Donetsk and Lugansk. Okay, it should be part of Ukraine, but people must decide for themselves, because life there cannot go back as before. There's too many things happen tragically, but this is what it is, okay? But this is a part of Ukraine. I mean, plain and simple. And those people inside, they're Ukrainians at first, and then they perhaps have hold 2 passports or whatever, Russian, but They were Ukrainians first. So let them decide their faith as a part of Ukraine. To become just like you said, this take this example and replicate it to Donbass and Lugansk, okay? And then the same thing about Crimea. So that's plain and simple. The biggest problem is people in Russia who have power right now. They want to hang on to the power for as long as they can, and they will only do a move that will guarantee that they will keep their power. Okay, that's where we should be looking at.
So let's see, and let's hope for a fast peace. I still, let's say, have faith, and I have friends that are involved, as you know. So, and I met people that were in the conflict in Ukraine. And it's difficult to understand for the people who don't see it in person. And because it will be a scar that will be difficult to heal for the next decades, not the next months or years.
Generations, not decades, but generations. We're still healing from World War II,
Yeah, but and also for sure for the Russian experience, the World War II, but still, I don't know, the war in Afghanistan for a big generation that was there, the Soviet war in Afghanistan. And so I thank you so much for your time. Thanks for the people that were watching and that will watch the video after. If you have any question for Konstantin, just put in the comment. I will forward to him. We will invite Konstantin to the next roundtable, and I hope that we will be able to have it in person in the school in Italy on Lake Garda in October. So thank you so much. Wait 1 sec after I close. And see you in the next
Stefano, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you so very much. I'm very grateful to be here. Thank you.